Hello.
Enchanté. Oh, nice. It's not easy having a good time.
9 billion names of pod.
From Atlanta,
home of Lips Down on Dixie.
it's the 9 Billion Names of Pod with Dan Bauman and Michael Reed. I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm the spokesperson for the Charles Atlas Seal of Disapproval.
So let's talk about some stuff.
Yes.
So
that happened.
So that happened. If you've been following us, you know that we are both dyed-in-the-wool Rocky Horror people. Both of our formal educations were in Rocky Horror and our
at Rocky Horror,
at
around
Rocky Horror,
with people at Rocky Horror, inside people from Rocky Horror, just Rocky Horror,
in general. Mm-hmm. And what was it? About a year ago, it was announced. Oh, they're going to reboot it.
Well, they've been teasing it for years,
right?
Like, oh, we're going to okay, whatever. And then it took form. Now, what was your initial reaction? Mine was fine. Do whatever you want. I mean, it's
pretty much, yeah.
I mean, keep in mind, it's a stage show. There are people back in the 70s going, no, you can't do a film. It's
exactly.
It's just another version,
And at this point, I was thinking about it. At this point, I've seen the stage play 2 or 3 times. I've seen the movie in, I can't tell you how many different cities. I've been in it twice. Right. I've seen a lot of different iterations of it.
Yeah. It's not like there is one, shining example on a hill and no others exist.
Yeah. The movie is the movie. Right. That is, that's the standard by which we're, everyone's unfortunately judging. But all my Rocky Horror people back in New York lost their freaking minds about it.
See, I don't understand that because, yes, it may not live up to the original. How could it possibly?
Right.
That was lightning in a bottle in
right.
every way, shape, and form. But it doesn't erase the film. It's not like, 20th Century Fox goes, we got this new one? Great. All right, stop it. No more streaming. No more DVDs.
Mission Impossible style. They all...
Yeah, they just... Yeah. Everyone's collection, all of a sudden, what's this smoky mark in the R's? And oh my God, my Rocky Blu-ray is gone. Yeah, so that's not an issue.
I was kind of excited about it. I was like, okay, once they announced the casting of Laverne Cox, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. They're going with an actual trans person as Frank.
There's a difference between a transvestite and someone who is trans.
Absolutely.
We'll get into that.
Forgive me if my terminology is incorrect,
yes.
But
yes, we are the worst people on the planet. We are white American males, and we suck. I mean, we are the fucking worst ever.
Yeah, we caused all the problems. So
seriously,
no, we're not kidding. Sorry.
Just sorry for everything. We were just awful.
But no, you're absolutely right. There is a difference, but it's not just an actor in a dress. It was an actual transgender person, which is way closer to the spirit of the piece.
I completely disagree.
Okay,
he's a sweet transvestite, which is a male dressing female or female dressing male.
Yes.
Laverne Cox is a female dressing female.
Okay.
So now, that aside, good. I mean, I'm glad they put a trans person in a major production on a big network,
right.
Arguably connected to the most, racist, homophobic, transphobic media empire out there, and that's Rupert Murdoch's Fox. Yeah. So, but we've long known that the separation between Fox News and Fox Entertainment. On Fox News, it's the worst thing ever. In the entertainment division, like, will it make us a buck? I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll make the American flag into a diaper if we have to make a buck.
And they probably did on The Simpsons at one point.
Oh, of course. Oh, they rag on Fox News all the time.
Yeah, they've had.
So I give it up to that. It's like, all right, Fox News division pretty much dumbing down America one broadcast at a time. Fox Entertainment goes, we're not having any of that. We're just going to do our thing.
And it's originally a Fox production anyway.
20th Century Fox, yes.
So, that makes sense.
Right. Right. So, where to begin? I have copious notes. Do you want me to just run through my notes and you just reflect on, or do you have any? I have so much to say.
Okay. Well, blanket for me.
Yes.
I didn't absolutely despise it. I didn't love it. I have a weird middle ground on it because I liked some of it. I hated some of it, but overall it was fine. So, okay, go.
Well, I'm going to jump to the first thing.
Okay.
The musical direction sucked.
Yes.
It was fucking horrible.
That I will concur.
Sanitized. Not the 50s doo-wop, not the 70s glam. It was, and I hate to say this because it falls, very High School Musical. And since Kenny Ortega did it, that explains it. He's the guy behind High School Musical. Musical direction was sucked, and it just sucked. And most of the songs were slowed down just enough to irritate the shit out of me.
Well, what irritated me was the way they were arranged. I don't mind flipping genre a little bit.
No.
I don't mind, but you're absolutely right, because from a musical direction standpoint, from a musician standpoint,
it was all over the place. What the fuck were they trying to do?
They were cutting measures and adding measures and making things longer and changing phrasing and things that, it wasn't artistic expression. It was just poorly done.
It was probably in service of what they were trying to produce. Like, for Eddie to get up around the arc, we need another. Okay, well, I can understand certain. I'm sure they did that from the stage musical to the original film. There were things that were different, obviously, because they went from 50s doo-wop to 70s glam.
Well, in the actual stage play, there are extra verses and extra songs.
Yes, once in a while.
Once in a while is a whole.
Thank God they
song.
didn't do this time.
Right. There's an extra verse in Frankenstein. Like Brad has a verse in Frankenstein Place before we get to Darkness.
So that's not. I mean, adapting. That's all well and good.
But cutting measures and making it shorter and longer and like for no reason and
no reason that we're aware of.
Yeah.
It's just that what comes out, it's like, all right, you were doing that in service of what?
Exactly.
And either it's like,
I see.
You did it because of that. Okay, I still think it sucks, but I see why you did it. Here, there's a couple of places where I could go, all right. And other places like, why?
Yeah.
Why does this? But
overall, that was absolutely my biggest complaint as well. I didn't get it. We take one of the best rock musicals of all time, and the time warp was terrible. I mean, just terrible. And you
it was too choreographed.
Yeah.
I mean, the Transylvania, pick.
Well, yeah, that's what we're here for.
I know.
That's fine.
I know. I mean, I was looking at it with an open mind. I never expected it ever to even come close to the original because that's.
Well, I didn't want it to.
I was saying like, you know what? Let's see what the new thing is, and maybe it'll be. I didn't have such a big problem with. For the lack of a better term, the reimagining of Indiana Jones or the Crystal Skull as everyone else did. It still is the fourth best Indiana Jones film.
Yes.
But it's like, I see what you did there, But I digress.
Well, on that tip, I actually enjoyed the science fiction number.
Now, that's where I want to start.
But it's problematic. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting in how they set it up to where they're viewing it is a restored version of the half-destroyed castle from the end of the film.
Right.
It's interesting. It's not like, that's awesome or all that says. It's more like, okay.
Right.
All right, it's a thing. Hey, saves you on budget because you don't have two sets.
Right.
So, okay, well done there. The fact that it was at a viewing and acknowledges the midnight movie reputation and history of Rocky. Who the fuck works at that theater? We got Trixie and a projectionist.
Yeah.
She's selling tickets. She's taking tickets. She's ushering. She's doing concessions. Who the fuck works at this theater? No wonder what the fuck?
Okay, well, that didn't bother me so
That
much.
bothered the hell out of me. And plus, Trixie, Trixie is supposed to be subversive. Trixie, just, she sounded great and she was gorgeous. It just didn't work for me.
Right. I actually enjoyed the number. I think where it becomes problematic is indicative of the whole production, which is I don't think they knew what they were doing because anyone who's seen the film, they're like, who is this usherette? That's directly out of the stage play.
Right.
That's how the stage play
That
is
did
done.
not make it. In the film, we had Patricia Quinn's lips
to
singing.
Richard O'Brien's
Right.
in the beginning of the film.
Right.
Two usherettes come out, well, one or two depending on the production, and they sing science fiction double feature.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this is cool. They're doing something out of the play. The only problem is then we go into the movie part of the play. Oh, then we go into the movie, okay?
Right.
And from the beginning of the wedding, the Hapshat wedding,
Right.
it was almost shot for shot.
Well, here's the thing. I noticed this, and I looked it up afterwards. With maybe 5 exceptions, they used the film script. The script was exactly the one that was from the original film, so that locked them into some certain stuff there. It started off with a bit of shot for shotness.
Yeah, there was. There were like frame for frame.
Damn it, Janet.
Yep.
And they were playing. Remember instead of Denton, rah rah rah, we got Hapshat, rah rah rah.
Right.
And the integration of the funeral with Brad and Janet was interesting. I'm like, but hold it, oh yes, it's the very tall grieving widow with a veil over her face. It was basically same as the film. Same as the film.
Except flipped. It was because in the film, it's Tim Curry is the preacher,
right?
And in this one, Reeve Carney, who was playing Riff Raff, was the preacher,
right? We'll get to him.
Oof.
We'll get to him.
But see, that was my problem overall. Was that okay? They do something from the play that's kind of cool. Now we're going shot for shot,
but they didn't hold that.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
What are we doing? And then
know.
there were little winks to like in the thing that were like to the thing, and we'll get there. But you know what I mean? It's like, okay, what is this? Okay. What are we doing?
What is what is the biggest wink of all from the start of when you see Betty and Ralph and Betty to the beginning of Brad and Janet? There's a huge wink.
Like the Easter egg? Who played the photographer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Sal
Piro.
I read that in the credits, yeah.
And I looked and went, my God, Sal got fat.
Sal's been fat a long time.
Sal's kind of a douchebag.
If you don't, let's go back. If you don't know who Sal Piro is, Sal Piro for the last, 30 years.
For the entire run, he was one of the original Waverly people.
Yeah, he's been the president of the official Rocky Horror fan club for 30 years. He's like the guy.
He's also the guy that ran a little mail order catalog where he essentially bootlegged Tim Curry solo albums, Little Nell singles on cassette, and would sell them to you at a rather hefty price. I found this out back in.
I knew he wasn't beloved.
He's kind of it's kind of a dick. Now maybe he's been great the last 20. Just my interactions with him via mail and just general reputation back in the when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know what? At the end of his little thing, I paused it for a second, just trying to taking my notes and everything, and I went, you know what? That must have been an absolute fucking dream come true for him. Because you can't go onto the set of the original because you don't have a time machine.
Right.
But you're in the remake. You know what? That is fan service of an epic level.
And he earned that for sure.
Oh, God, yes. For as much douchey shit as he's done, he's the one that got us the audience participation album.
Right.
For all the people who were too scared.
And kept it running at 8th Street for how many years,
right.
After it left the Waverly.
Right.
So.
And
so that was a really nice nod. I was glad they did that.
Yeah, that was good. in science fiction double feature, there is one person that is not credited anywhere, and I could not find who's the projectionist. It looks a bit like Meatloaf. It's not.
It's not Meatloaf. It looked like a character actor, but yeah, it wasn't credited.
Someone was positing that it might have been one of the original Transylvanians.
That's who it looks like.
Could be. You know, there's you know, who knows?
Yeah.
But that's a mystery I'd like to get to the bottom of.
Right.
I like how Trixie started out looking like a cold weather hooker.
Yeah.
Yeah, with impeccable makeup and style, and a knack for the quick change, because all of a sudden, and now she's an usherette, and now she's you know.
I looked her up on YouTube, and she's a recording artist, and she does some weird shit. She's got some weird videos out there,
What, like
music videos,
okay.
like just weird,
Yeah.
and she's got kind of an odd style, like that kind of gruff, like talking out of the side of her mouth kind of thing. That's her style.
See, man,
Yeah,
but to do a music video, see?
Exactly, yeah. She's got that rough thing. And
she acquitted herself vocally of the song just fine.
Yeah.
You know, although I was rather I don't know, miffed that when she noticed the guys had their feet up on the seats, she said, "Hey, get your feet down." I said, "Trixie, do you understand what we got up to in those seats?
In the
especially the back row."
Yep.
I mean, I'd say every member of the cast, save my cast, say maybe one or two, had full-on penetrative sex in the theater during the show.
As far as I'm aware, we never did that.
Now, of course,
or as far as I'm aware, I never did that.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I will take the fifth. You know, this is when you're anywhere from 15 to 20, because usually by the time you reach 21, it's like, oh, I can go where people are and there's alcohol.
yeah, I can go drink.
I can go
For real.
Now, of course, I'm the person who, you know, turned 21 and didn't step foot into a bar, I think, until just before my 22nd birthday, because I'm not a bar person.
Right.
Just, you know, never have been. But I thought that was very interesting. Like, get your feet off the seat. Like, bitch, are you aware of what goes on?
What I did like that she did was there was a cute little wink on the Brad and Janet line. See, Andra, it's fighting Brad and Janet. She made kind of a kind of face, and I like that was cute. I liked that.
Oh, there's a couple. Remember when Brad goes over and kind of, I don't know, I can't remember if he fist bumps or whatever Ralph, and then he's looking at him, and then he smells his hand.
that was weird.
That was, I'm like, that
was odd.
I could make an educated guess about what that was, but I'm not going to, because
what that was, I guarantee, was just an ad lib on set, and they're like, "That's funny, keep it." You know, where it made it into editing.
it's a little, it's a bit
that's probably how it started. You can delve into however you want, but I think it was just I don't think that was directed. They're like, "Oh, that's great, keep that."
Yeah, I just found that very
it was
strange.
a little off-putting.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Now, do you think there were any other than who we're about to talk about, Mr. Tim Curry, any other of the originals that did cameos?
I don't believe so, but I may be unless you know something I don't believe anyone else was.
You are correct.
Yeah.
A lot of people were speculating that the criminologist's butler was actually Little Nell due to the haircut.
Yeah, no.
It is not.
No, it didn't look like her.
No, it's I want to say it's Jane Eastwood, a former member of what's the Canadian, or what is it, Second City? No, it's Second City.
Second City, yeah.
Second City. And she's just an actress that they pulled to do it.
Yeah.
Because obviously, Crim, because it's Mr. Curry and he has had a stroke and is in a wheelchair, he is not going to get up and demonstrate the time warp.
Yeah.
And there is a thread on IMDb where someone says, "What the fuck's wrong with the criminologist? Is he retarded or he have a stroke or something?" And someone said, "He had a fucking stroke, man."
Yeah.
And they piled on him, and the guy goes, "Sorry, I didn't know." I'm like, all right, well, maybe Wikipedia for 3 seconds will tell you these things.
Well,
I know. I'm intellectually curious. Other people just want to, open their
stupid kids.
open their mouth hole and let shit come out. It was very good to see Tim Curry.
It was
a little unsettling.
It was equal parts wonderful and sad.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like those last. Well, not quite as bad, but like those last Dick Clark broadcasts, where after he had his stroke and he went back to do Rockin' New Year's Eve and.
Yeah.
I mean, good on him. I mean, I got respect for that. It was just a little unsettling for all of us because, like,
right.
Good on you for recovering as much as you have. Good to have you back. It's just like
it was like that very last Monty Python special that had
with Graham in the closet
and everything, and he looked terrible.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm glad. Like the Tim thing was like, I'm glad he embraced it. I'm glad he did it, and it was like,
and he did okay.
He did fine.
It's just you're. We'll get to pretenders to the Tim Curry throne. Oh, we will. And even at the end, after Superheroes, at the end of Superheroes, he actually sang a bit.
He did.
And my God, I heard Curry. It was,
yeah.
I mean, it was definitely older and a little bit different, but I went, holy crap, he can still sing well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying go out and do your 4th solo album. Tim, do your 4th solo album. I've been waiting since like 1978. Well, it came out in like 78. I've been waiting since when I was
something.
Yeah, when I was a kid. Well, I still have my autograph. I have an autographed copy of his 3rd solo record, Fearless. He was doing Me and My Girl in San Diego, and on our way to Rocky Horror, we went down to the back, the stage door, and he came out and he signed. He was so happy to sign something that wasn't Rocky Horror, and I said, Tim, when's the next solo album coming out? Because at that point it was reasonable that one could still be happening in the relative near future, And he goes, well, we're working on something. Well, I think we should have something out soon. Nothing ever happened. Never happened. And of course, I don't have a picture of me with Tim Curry because I took a picture of my friend Tish and Jennifer with Tim, and since I took the picture, not in the picture.
Yeah.
But oh well. But anyway,
but you got to meet him. That's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh, that and that accent. I mean, it just wonderful.
Well, one of the sadder things about the condition that he's in, because he seems okay. It's just the problem is a lot of the work he's been doing over the last 15 years has all been voiceover work. So that's kind of he was actually. In Batman the Animated Series, he was originally the Joker.
Oh.
And he was only, they did a few tests and it just didn't gel right with what they were going for. And they brought in, when Mark Hamill got the call, it clicked.
Well, the Joker's not British. I mean, not saying that Tim Curry couldn't do an American accent.
Right.
But there's certain voices that are so recognizable.
Right.
That, like, I know you're doing a very convincing American accent, but I know who you are. And it just takes you out of it.
And that kind of, I think that would have as well. Like Tim Curry, he's got a very cartoony voice. Like he does really good, big, bombastic.
Well, when he's in that mode, obviously.
Yeah. And Hamill was just, it was just the perfect chemistry with him. It just worked. But
now during Damn It, Janet, did you notice the little nod to Frankenstein?
I did the gravestone.
The gravestone, Mary Shelley. I went, okay, all right. They're having fun with it. They're giving a little wink. They didn't have the Denton
Home of Happiness billboard. I really wanted that.
And I'm going, and judging by the viewership, we are definitely not going to get a remake of Shock Treatment.
Well, that was a long shot anyway.
Shock Treatment was very prescient about reality TV and stuff like that. Yeah. Just the way, I mean, in very much the abstract, but people literally living in a studio audience. That is there's an analogy there.
Oh, absolutely.
To what we're doing today.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, it was good. It was good to see Tim Curry. It was also good to see another nod to the original film, and that is outside the castle, the original Beware sign.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, probably not the actual sign, but the same typeface, the same. I went. Okay.
They recreated that, enter at your own risk. I was like, okay, good. Yes, I here. Yep. And the Frankenstein place, when they're driving in the car, like you said, I didn't know they used the shooting script, but I mean, frame for frame, shot for shot when they're in the car, and then when they kick the tires and her running by.
No Nixon though.
No Nixon. No.
No Nixon.
No, that would have been.
That would have dated it
a little bit.
If anything, it could have been. We're gonna have the most. I'm gonna win bigly.
Yeah.
I don't think they. That's unnecessarily poking the hornet's nest. It's like, all right, he's gonna lose and be a pariah. Thank God for that. Let's not bake it into our production. That,
right, we don't need that.
So, can I say again that the musical direction sucked?
Yeah, it was bad.
Fucking horrible.
Terrible.
I have a list of notes that I made about. We're gonna run through the cast.
Okay.
And,
we need to do that
and have our. And I'm going to go in no particular order other than as I wrote them down, as I made my notes. Brad and Janet. Yeah, all right. Not good, not great. Both sang fine. Victoria Justice, I didn't know who she was. Very attractive girl.
Yeah.
The guy, hunky, and
actually,
his acting was a little wonky sometimes.
They're both Disney kids, believe it or not, like ex-Disney kids.
I have no doubt.
I liked him a little bit more than her, but yes, they were fine.
Yeah, basically, I call it the Rene Russo effect, in that I don't love her, I don't hate her. She goes in, she does a job, acquits herself fine, and leaves no residue of her performance in my mind at all.
Right.
That's just like, you did your job, and I will not be subscribing to your fan club. Yeah, not even that. Magenta, fucking hated her.
Really? Okay.
Hated. Is she Spanish? Is she just horrible overacting? And I know Patricia Quinn overacted the shit out of her role.
Yeah, terrible accent. She was like doing a combination of British and Transylvanian. She was trying.
Her accent was all over the place. Yeah. And there was just no presence there. I didn't, And I know it's hard to separate Patricia Quinn from that role and let someone else look at it.
Yeah.
Look at someone else in that role. But I was not. I think who played that?
Christina Milian.
Christina Milian.
She's a recording artist.
Is she? Okay.
And an actress. And,
all right.
Yeah, she's very talented.
Attractive girl, and when she sang, it wasn't like, ooh, she sang fine. I didn't care for it. Yeah. I just didn't care for it. Columbia. Love,
probably
love,
my favorite
love.
one. Probably my favorite one.
No, absolutely my favorite one,
because she made it her own. She did it a little bit more like Columbia's kind of supposed to be in the thing, which she was a little like strung out. It seemed.
Yeah, a little like, like I can quit anytime, and I am kind of a baby.
But I'm kind of high right now.
Yeah, exactly. And not quite as pixie-ish as Little Nell
Not
did.
at all, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
not at all pixie.
Right, and she was absolutely the best thing in it, I think.
She came on like a jaded 15-year-old going, whatever to everything, like, whatever.
Yeah, and it worked. Everything she did worked, I thought.
And she could sing, she could dance.
Yep.
I mean, I can't remember her name. It's like Ashley
Annalie something.
Anyway, she's a cast member of Masters of Sex on Showtime.
Oh, okay, I didn't know
She plays
that.
the receptionist. She has a very distinct voice that has that kind of wisecracking. She could play like a gun mall in the 1940s.
Gotcha.
How you doing? Yeah. I just thought she was wonderful.
Yep.
I have no problem with her whatsoever. Now, because it's next on the list, Frank.
Oh, okay.
Grace Jones has never looked better, except when she's channeling Tina Turner, and also with a touch of Charles Nelson Riley channeling Tim Curry. Oh, there's a lot of imitating Tim Curry in that.
Yeah.
But it's not consistent.
Right.
It slips into Charles, it slips into Charles Nelson Riley.
That's one of those you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't roles, because if you ape Tim Curry, you're going to get called out. You're going to get busted on that. If you don't do Tim Curry, you're going to get busted on that. So you're kind of screwed no matter what.
Right, and you know what? The absolute fearlessness that it took Laverne Cox to even do that role, respect.
Absolutely.
Respect.
Absolutely.
But a fucking horrible performance, in my opinion. I'm sorry. It was just, Tim is fucking sacred to me in that role. And I know it's tough to see someone else in that role, but it was just uneven and...
Well, again, I think it goes back to they didn't know what this was.
Well, the whole thing is,
the whole production.
Yeah, let's get this down. The whole thing is uneven. It's not like everything was locked down and Laverne Cox was all over the place. No. Pretty much everybody was all over the place. Like I said,
we don't know if we're remaking the movie, if we're parodying the movie, if we're blending the two,
They're doing all that.
They're doing all that, and that's the biggest problem with
it's not a remake. It's not just a reimagining. It's not quite a parody. It's
everything.
It's commentary,
bits and pieces of all of that.
Yeah,
which
is ambitious. It just
make a choice. You know?
Didn't come together.
Do the movie if you're going to do the movie.
Exactly. Well,
or do a thing.
Riff Raff was trying too hard, in my opinion. He sings like he was in something big.
Probably.
I can't remember.
Evidently, he is Art Carney's grandson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. Riff is tough for me personally because that's what I did several times. I mean, I was in the Shadowcast and playing it live. He kind of got it locked down by the end, but it was too late. Like his accent. He was absolutely mimicking Richard O'Brien.
Now, keep in mind, I can't say for sure, but most productions do not shoot in script order. So he may have had it and then lost it.
Right.
Or had it, lost it, had it, lost it.
Well, the first few scenes, he didn't have it. And the final scene with at the end.
In the spacesuits?
Yeah, in the spacesuits. He was, his character was more together and the accent, but he was absolutely doing Richard O'Brien. And again, damned if you do, damned if you don't. What do you do? That's the problem with this whole thing is you make it your own, you're screwed. And if you don't, and if you copy, you're screwed too.
Yeah. He definitely leered a bit more at Janet at the door.
Yeah.
Than Richard O'Brien did.
Yeah.
You're wet.
And at the beginning, I hated the remake at the time more, but I've said that. But he was too, during the time warp. And it's like, what are we doing?
There's a sedate manicness about Richard O'Brien's Riff Raff.
Right.
It's like he's always at, in his countenance. But there's this, even when he's doing the time warp, it's hard to describe.
Well, he's scheming. He's in charge. He knows what's going on, and this guy kind of didn't, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's all the while he's like, I could whip out the spacesuit and the and the Ronald Ray gun. Hey, that's my first laugh in 25 years for that joke. Woo-hoo! It knew it would happen eventually.
Yeah.
Rocky. I'm sorry, Rocky does not wear fucking boxer briefs.
No.
He wears Speedos.
Yeah.
Or something very close to it.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that about?
Don't know.
It's a choice. Okay, maybe guys these days are wearing more, I'm a boxer guy. Maybe they just, I don't know why they did that.
I don't know why.
It's like surf trunks or board shorts or whatever.
And his direction was terrible because it was... You're Frankenstein, walk and act like Frankenstein, and that's not what Rocky is.
No.
In the stage play, people don't know, Rocky actually has dialogue. Rocky has a character. Rocky interacts with the other characters.
This was about halfway in between, well, not really halfway, about a quarter more, because in the stage play, Yak It Up a Storm, in the film, hardly says 3 words.
And that was because of Peter Hinton.
Peter Hinton wasn't an actor.
Yeah.
He wasn't a singer either.
Right.
All that stuff is overdubbed by I don't know who. So
I don't know.
Yeah. So, and of course, I think now he's in either I think it's Antiques or he runs a flower shop. I've heard both.
Yeah.
But he basically he's like Newt from Aliens.
Gone.
Did a film and like, peace out, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this sucked. I hated it.
Yeah, exactly. Out. It's like nope. That's because all the kids come like, so what do you want to do tonight? Well, they mostly come out at night. Mostly, all the time, and Carrie's like going, "Oh God, I got to get out of this business. Fuck this." Rocky, and whatever. And of course we'll get to it later. Wow, how very tame Touch Me was. Now, of course, it wasn't full on bow chicka bow bow in the film,
right?
But it's just like, hey, we're totally gonna have sex, but nope. Keep it around the ab area. We're not going to do anything that even,
overly suggestive.
Exactly. And then, of course, when Eddie comes out and he puts his arm around and totally grabs Columbia's boob full on. Weird. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Well, because Columbia had a shirt on and Janet just had her bra on.
Yes.
So that's...
I don't know.
Different?
I don't know.
Who knows what standards and practice? Well, we'll get to the changes because there were changes. Let's, but not as many as you would. I was really worried about the seduction scenes being completely sanitized, and they were only mildly sanitized.
Mildly.
So, but let's continue on with the cast. Eddie. What the fuck was that? I mean, hey, Ben Vereen, Broadway legend.
Yep.
But that seemed, let's just put it out there, aside from Columbia and maybe one other, this was fucking horribly cast. Either horribly cast or like, all right, whatever. I'm not happy.
A lot of it was, I see what you're trying to do there, but you ain't getting it.
I see what you tried to do there.
I was glad to see Ben Vereen do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, considering what he's been through in his life, my gosh, that guy's almost been dead 20, 30 times in the last 20, 30 years. Well, maybe a little hyperbole there. But,
right.
The one thing that amused me a little bit was Dr. Scott had headlights on his wheelchair. What the fuck? Okay. Does he go off-roading? Is that a concern? I'm like, all right, well, I guess if you're, working for the government, maybe they'll soup you up with a super, and the Einstein shock hair.
Yeah, that was very weird.
I'm like, okay.
Did you catch the really great Ben Vereen Easter egg?
Oh, okay. I'm going to tell you what mine is, because it's not necessarily... Well, it is a Ben Vereen Easter egg, but it's a Fosse Easter egg.
Yes.
There's a scene in Rose Tint where someone standing right next to him executes a perfect Fosse move with a bowler hat.
Which was his leading player from Pippin move.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
It was brilliant.
I actually went back and went, did they just drop a Fosse into this bitch?
Yep.
I'm like, all right, this went from a C- to a C-ish.
Yeah.
Because of that, I went, nice.
Yes.
Because let's face it, you add Fosse into anything, I don't care if it's 12 Angry Men or the fucking remake of...
I don't know about that so much,
No,
but I know
no, I stand by it. If you were able to put in a Fosse move into anything, I will automatically round it up to the next highest grade.
But in context.
The
context was perfect.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Yes, exactly.
Because
it was
so Fosse
brief.
was one thing, but having him do that move to Ben Vereen was...
That was very nice, and it wasn't like, we're going to hold it, we're going to do, like, no. It took like 2 seconds, and then it was gone, like, thank you.
Yeah, that wasn't for anybody but the people who would catch it.
Right, exactly. It's like, look, we're being clever. No, look some more. You thinking about it?
That was Kenny Ortega going, we're going to do something cool here.
Oh,
and
good.
Good for him.
I mean, and anyone who knows Fosse can recognize a Fosse move immediately.
Right. And if you know where it's from and why they're
exactly.
doing it,
well, because I would dare say that, that's Fosse's biggest success on Broadway was Pippin. I can't think of anything else that was as a resounding success.
And Ben Vereen was iconic.
That's what he made.
Yeah.
That's what and of course he was in one of my favorite Fosse films, not that there's too many of them, but in All That Jazz. Yeah. He was in a way the featured player of Gideon's fever dream about dying. So, Gotta love that.
Yep.
Let's get back to
casting.
No. To have we gone through all the casting? Yeah, we did all the major players.
Yeah.
I mean, the Transylvanians, even in the original film, there was only about 3 that you could go, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
Now, during the Charles Atlas reprise, in the shadow cast, when Frank is doing his back step, deltoid and a tricep. What I would always do when Frank goes, makes you want to shake.
Yep.
In the film, Frank does that with one of the more diminutive Transylvanians. When I played Eddie, having just been murdered by Frank, I would wait and I would come back to life as Eddie and do the shake move with Frank and then go up the aisle, and that was the end of Eddie. Okay. But Eddie would come, that was my personal touch for it. Because, and of course the line was, makes me want to dance with a midget. And then, of course, so, but when, during the Sweet Transvestite number, I really, really, really liked the cut to Tim Curry during Anticip, Anticip, and everyone's leaning in, and Tim just kind of does that sideways, like, and it's like, oh, that's so good. Yep. And his voice has changed enough, whether it's due to age or stroke, that when he spoke, it wasn't like, wow, that sounds so much like the original Frank that it threw you out of it. So he was changed enough, or whether that was an affect that he put on so he wouldn't be so Curry. You know what I mean?
I think a little of both.
But let's face it, not everyone goes around going, well, I'll shunt, that kind of thing. Unless you're Laverne Cox and you're channeling Tim Curry. But that whole anticipate, and everyone, and the whole audience is leaning in, and that's another thing that I thought was okay. They did not constantly cut to the audience in the theater. It was used very sparingly.
Right. Almost too sparingly, because again,
sometimes it'd be like half an hour. Right. Yeah.
Is this the movie?
Keep in mind that if they cut to it, there's so many places where there are good callback lines.
Yeah.
It would, during my run at Rocky, the San Diego Rep did a stage production of the Rocky Horror Show. And the actors on stage had kind of a love-hate relationship with the audience because every performance, everybody was shouting the lines. Yep. They specifically phrased their shit differently to avoid all those very needed breaks to get lines in. But there are some that you can't avoid. Right. And luckily, they had a Frank in the production that played with it, that had fun with it. But it definitely was probably very irritating for people who just wanted to go and see the musical and not see a bunch of screaming kids and, early 20s yelling out these lines like, this doesn't happen at Evita. This doesn't happen. What the fuck?
It's a very strange phenomenon because I've done 2 productions now. Yeah. And the first time, it was literally the first theater show I'd ever done. So I was going in because I was a Rocky fan and just happened to get cast as Riff Raff. And Frank, Craig, who played our Frank, he was also a Rocky kid, and he had done Frank before. And I think Brad, he's been in a bunch of productions of it. Yeah. But we were actually like that theater on stage in Atlanta was supporting people. They were encouraging people to participate, to yell, and to do the whole thing.
Oh, and boy, did I ever!
Yes, you did.
I got Krim so many times, especially the time when the spotlight was on Krim and I was sitting right in the pathway and was able to shadow on Krim, rub his nipples. It was fun.
And Craig and I would, we knew all the standard Rocky lines, so we would set up the jokes if we could. Some of the other actors had a hard time because they didn't know the lines. Right.
And did you find yourself slipping into line? Because it's not like I don't think in the last long time I can't imagine the last time I saw the film outside of a Shadowcast production. So it's not like these lines are things that I practice and know all the time. But the callbacks, immediately, they all came back to me. Every single one of them. Hey, we didn't run out of time, but for some reason, Dan's wandered off into the Zen room, and God knows when he'll be back. We'll play part 2 next week.
The 9 Billion Names of Pod was conceived, written, and performed by Michael Reed and Dan Bauman, with Abdul Benny Hassan as the sound of splintering wood. Research, transportation, and exasperated looks by Courtney Lohner. Technical assistance by Cubase, Pro Tools, Skynet, QLab, Deep Thought, Big Brother, and Eddie, your shipboard computer. Financial consideration provided by the Wayne Foundation, Stark Industries, the Piranha Brothers, and LexCorp. Legal counsel by the Office of Howard & Fine. I See You Shiva with Anticip. Our intro music was written by Tim Akers. This podcast was sponsored by Deep Shag Records and is a production of Audio Primate. Throw us a couple stars on iTunes, why don't you? Check us out on dadsgarageradio.net. Listen, watch on YouTube, listen on SoundCloud, stream us on Stitcher, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or email us comlink@billionpod.com. And until this happens again, I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Michael Reed.
Hello, Z.
Audio Primate.